My son stood and spat in my face without saying a word. His wife laughed loud. Not one person moved to stop him, not even my daughter. He leaned closer and whispered, "Your time here is up, old man. Get out of my house tonight." Why would my son do this in front of everyone? Why does he want to erase me? And who is replacing me? This isn't just a story, it's a truth buried in too many homes if you're ready to face it. Subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. I stood in the doorway of the guest room, blinking at the navy blue suitcase leaned against the far wall. It wasn't just placed there, it was staged. The handle extended, tags already attached, zipper facing the door like it was begging me to walk out. I hadn't even unpacked fully since I moved in with them a month ago, but seeing it like that, prepped, ready, ignored. It felt like a goodbye written in silence. Downstairs, I could hear dishes clinking. Laughter, hers. Light, sharp, and unmistakably mocking. The kind of laugh people used when they knew they'd won. I hadn't even wiped the spit off my face. It was drying now, a tight crust just below my eye. I walked to the edge of the bed and sat down slowly. My knees cracked the way old hinges do. I looked around, none of my photos were on the walls. The shelf where I had placed my old books was bare. My coat, gone from the hanger. That's when I noticed it. A brass key, dull but familiar, hanging from a hook on the side of the dresser. My brass key. The one I gave my son when I signed over access to the family cabin. I had it engraved with the year he was born. Now it dangled from his keyring, shoved casually between a fob and a plastic rewards tag, as if it were nothing more than a spare. I held it once with pride. He now carried it with arrogance. Footsteps came up the stairs. I stood instinctively as if summoned. My daughter-in-law didn't knock, just pushed the door open halfway and leaned against the frame. "Hope you slept okay," she said, voice soaked in condescension. "We've got a full day today. Little chores, house needs a man's touch." "I didn't sleep much," I replied, keeping my eyes on the key. She noticed, smirked. "Yeah, Michael carries that old thing around. Says it reminds him who's in charge now." I clenched my fists. That key meant something, she shrugged. "Now it's just decoration. Like you." Then she walked away. I stood there for a long time, silence folding over me like a heavy blanket. That key was the first thing I gave him when he turned 21. I told him, "This opens the place that built you." And now, it hung like a trophy on a man who wanted me erased. The phone rang downstairs. Her voice floated up. "Yes, he's still here." "We'll handle it." "Handle what?" I walked down slowly, each step heavier than the last. In the kitchen, my daughter, my quiet one, was standing by the fridge. Her eyes darted to me, then away. I looked past her. On the refrigerator was a printed sheet, neatly taped. "House rules, Grandpa's edition. No interference with parenting, no financial complaints, no locked doors, no use of car without permission. Violation. Immediate reconsideration of living arrangement." I turned to Michael. "You typed this?" He didn't even turn from his eggs. "House rules are house rules. And the key?" I asked. "You keep it like a joke now?" Finally he turned. "That key's yours? I figured you left it like you left everything else behind. But sure, if it means so much, I'll mail it to you when you get your own place." "My place was this," he laughed. "Not anymore. You're a guest now, temporary." A gasp came from behind. My grandson had been watching from the hallway. Michael caught him. "Back to your room." He hesitated. "Now." As he walked away, he looked at me, eyes uncertain. I stared at my son. "You're forgetting who made this house possible." "No," he said, turning his back. "I'm making sure you never confuse that again." I walked outside just for air. Across the street, my neighbor Joyce was watering her flowers. She saw me standing there and tilted her head. "Everything all right?" she called softly. I nodded, forcing a weak smile. But she knew. She always knew when something wasn't right. That night, when I came back in, I found my room locked from the outside, and the brass key was no longer on the dresser. The morning air bit harder than it should have. I reached for the doorknob, but it didn't turn. From the outside, I never liked waking up to silence, but that morning the silence wasn't peaceful. It was staged, cold, final. My room's door wouldn't open. I turned the knob once, twice, then pressed, locked from the outside. I knocked gently. No answer. I waited 5 minutes before I heard the clink of silverware downstairs. They'd started breakfast without me. When the door finally opened, it wasn't my son standing there, it was her, Amanda, my daughter-in-law, holding a steaming mug of coffee, sipping it like it was the start of any other morning. "Oh, sorry," she said flatly. "Michael thought you were still asleep." Her eyes didn't flinch. Didn't apologize. I stepped past her slowly, each footstep heavy like guilt. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, I saw my grandson already dressed, sitting at the table, head down. Michael didn't look up. "Let's get this straight," he said suddenly, voice low but deliberate. "You live here, you follow our rhythm." "No exceptions," I paused. "You locked my door," he kept eating. "You need boundaries. Is that what we're calling locks now?" Amanda slid a plate in front of me, no fork, no napkin. "You're not a prisoner, but you're also not the patriarch anymore." That word, not the patriarch. The house I'd bought. The roof I replaced myself. The room where I held him as a newborn, not mine anymore. "You need to start doing your part," she added. "Chores, help with pickups, babysit. We both work full-time. This is a partnership." "I'm your father," I said, jaw tightening. Michael looked at me. "Not anymore. You're a tenant." He stood up, walked to the fridge, and pinned a new paper under the magnet. This one in red. "Contribute or vacate. Deadline, Sunday." I walked outside, needing air. I didn't even grab a coat. Across the street, Joyce was clipping dead leaves from her front hedges. She squinted at me, waved. I forced a wave back. She crossed over. "You all right, Alan?" she asked gently. I nodded, but my lips betrayed me. "Is it true," she whispered, "that they're planning to move you to assisted living?" I froze. "How do you—" "Amanda posted in the neighborhood forum," she said. "Said you were getting forgetful. That you agreed it's time." "I never agreed to anything." Joyce's eyes dropped to my hands, shaking slightly. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. I turned back toward the house. My eyes caught the coat rack, empty. No brass key. Not in my pocket. Not on the dresser. Not on the ring. Gone. Back inside, my grandson tugged at my sleeve. "Grandpa?" I knelt. "Yeah? Why are you in trouble?" I stared at him. "Who said that?" "Daddy. He said you were—" "Making trouble again." My chest ached. "Do you think I'm bad?" I asked. He shook his head fast. "No, you just look sad a lot. I wanted to cry right there," Amanda snapped. "Time for school, Logan. Go wait in the car." He lingered. Michael barked, "Now." That evening I tried to cook. Chicken, rice, a few vegetables. Amanda dumped it in the trash. "We already ate," she said coldly. "You should have asked." I was in my room. Locked in. "Don't start drama." "You locked me in, Amanda." "I was protecting Logan." "From what? His own grandfather?" She smiled like it was a game. "From confusion," Michael stepped forward. "This isn't working, Dad. You made that decision before I even moved in. I'm giving you a chance now." "Final one." "What chance?" He pointed toward the living room where my suitcase now sat in the open again, this time with papers on top, a notice, a list, and one line bolded at the bottom: "Comply or arrange alternate housing by Sunday." That night I sat in my car in the driveway, staring at the place I built, and wondered if I had the strength to tear it all down just to save myself. The fireplace was cold, but something was still burning. My photo, half curled in ash. The morning light slanted through the living room blinds, hitting the fireplace. That's when I saw it. My photo, half burned, curled in the ashtray beneath blackened logs. It was the one Amanda had framed last Christmas. Me, Michael, and Logan at the cabin. My hand rested on both their shoulders. Now my face was warped, charred, almost erased. That wasn't an accident. I stepped closer and saw what lay underneath the logs. The corner of an old document. Edges crisped, gold-embossed lettering barely showing. I reached in with the fire poker, lifted it out and froze. A copy of the cabin deed. My name torn off the corner. That was the first time I felt my legs go cold. I stormed into the garage where I kept my locked filing box. Old deeds, account records, trust forms. I had moved it in here myself, stashed under Logan's old booster seat. It was open, not broken. Not forced, just open. Inside, only dust. The cabin deed was gone. So was the notarized will I'd rewritten after my wife passed. All of it. Stripped like I never existed. I ran back inside. Michael was in his office typing. You touched my papers? He didn't flinch. Calm down. Don't you dare tell me to calm down. Where's the deed? The will? He looked me dead in the eye. They're secure now. Secure? With who? With people who know what to do if things... Decline. I'm not declining, I snapped. I'm not sick. I'm not demented. You've made some questionable choices, Dad. You mean ones that didn't include giving you control? His eyes narrowed. Do you know how many times you changed your mind about who gets what? One day it's me. One day it's Logan. One day it's the Veterans Charity. You don't even trust your own family. You proved why I shouldn't. He stood, walked over to the desk drawer and pulled out something that made my stomach turn. You made me beg for this once, he said. Now you can beg for it back. I snatched it off the plaque. The back screws tore from the wood. You're playing with fire. He laughed. No, Dad, I already own the fire. That evening I drove to the bank. My personal account was locked. Access denied. My online portal showed Michael listed as joint administrator. I had never added him. I called the branch manager. Mr. Doyle, this is Alan Pierce. I need an emergency appointment. Pause. Sir, he said cautiously, your son was in last week. He brought documents. Said you were consolidating under family control due to health decline. There were witnesses. A notary. I never signed anything, I snapped. He hesitated. I'm sorry, but everything looked official. I hung up before my heart burst through my ribs. On the way home, my phone buzzed. A blocked number. A voice I recognized. Amanda. If you keep pushing this, we'll push back harder. And next time Logan won't be around to hear it, I pulled over. My hands trembled so hard I couldn't put the car in park. When I got home, I noticed something new on the mantel, a framed paper. At first, I thought it was a school award, but it was a durable power of attorney form. Dated 6 months ago, signed with my name. I had no memory of signing it. Not like that, not in those conditions, and not with Michael as the beneficiary. I stared at the signature. Mine, but not mine. And for the first time I realized they weren't just kicking me out of their home. They were erasing me from my own life. Amanda screamed from the laundry room. I rushed over, only to catch her trying to hide a manila envelope under a pile of towels. She wasn't expecting me to be home. I had doubled back to grab my phone charger. Amanda was in the laundry room, shoulders tense, hand buried under a stack of towels. The manila envelope wasn't hidden well. Her panic was louder than her scream. What are you doing? I asked calmly. She spun. Jesus, you scared me. I pointed to the envelope. What is that? Nothing, she snapped. Give it to me. It's Michael's. I snatched it. Inside, a series of copied documents, stapled, clipped, and marked with yellow sticky notes. At the front, durable power of attorney, activation and medical directive, with my signature. But I had never seen that version before. No witness initials, no legal stamp. Where'd you get this? I asked. Give it back. These are forged. They're not. Michael had it notarized. Where? When? She hesitated. Too long. Tell me. She backed up. You were still groggy from surgery. He brought them into the hospital. My hands were numb. I couldn't even hold a pen. Amanda's voice hardened. You signed. That's all that matters. I stared at the dates. One was the day I came out of anesthesia. I remembered nothing from that week. Behind the papers was a printout of a trust account transfer slip, routing funds from my pension into a joint account labeled Pierce Family Trust, custodian Michael Pierce, and I stepped back. My knees buckled slightly. There at the bottom of the envelope, something even more damning. A folded note, not typed, handwritten. It read, once we have POA activated, initiate step 2. Keep him confused, limit public exposure. I'll take care of the old storage unit. He won't remember it exists. It was signed with a scribble, but I recognized the handwriting. Tom, Michael's childhood friend. A paralegal. I helped him get his first job. I gave him my trust. Now he had helped gut my life. Major twist. The betrayal wasn't just within my family. It had spread to someone I once saved from ruin. I walked to my room, gripping the envelope like it was the last piece of proof I had. On the nightstand sat the brass key. They'd put it back. But now it was taped inside a clear case like a museum relic. Under it, a typed note. Legacy is a story. You don't control the ending. That night, I called Tom's old law office. A young receptionist answered. Thomas Boyle's desk. How may I help you? I need to speak with him. It's urgent. This is Alan Pierce. Silence, sir. Mr. Boyle no longer works here. He was let go 3 months ago. For what reason? She paused again. Ethics violation. That's all I can say. I sat there, heart pounding. They were cutting ties, scrubbing. The trail. I grabbed my car keys and drove to the county clerk's office. I told the woman at the counter I needed verification of deed access and POA status under my name. She looked me up, then frowned. Do you have identification? I handed her my license. Her eyes narrowed. I'm sorry, sir. According to our records, Michael Pierce is the current designated representative. You're listed as former grantor, disabled. Disabled? I snapped. I'm not incapacitated. That's not how it was filed. She turned the screen slightly. There it was, my name. My birthday. Next to it, a status code. LTD, legal transfer due to declining mental capacity. She looked at me like a stranger, and the screen didn't lie. On paper, I no longer existed. Before we move forward, tell me in the comments, has someone ever made decisions for you that changed your life without your consent? Pastor Dale avoided my eyes at church, and that told me everything. Sunday mornings used to mean something. Faith, family, familiarity. But this one felt like a burial. I stood outside the church for a moment longer than usual, watching people go in. They nodded politely, smiled with their mouths, but no one stopped to talk. Not even Joyce, who usually saved me a seat near the front pew. Inside, I slid into the last row. That's when I saw him, Pastor Dale. He spotted me, then turned his head, fast, like he'd been caught reading someone else's mail. My stomach sank. After the service, I approached him in the foyer. Dale, I said. He hesitated, then smiled. Alan, how are you feeling? Not doing. Not managing feeling, I sighed. You've heard something. He looked down. Michael stopped by. Said you've been struggling with memory, with stability. He's worried. He told you that? He said you signed over your affairs willingly. That you were simplifying. I held up a folded paper. Does this look simplified to you? I asked. It was a printout of the POA form. I pointed at the forged signature. The missing notary. The faked witness line. Do you think I would ever hand him power like this? Behind my back? Pastor Dale didn't respond, but I saw it. Doubt, real, ugly, slow-burning doubt. He lowered his voice. You know how rumors work, Alan. They only need a sliver of truth. There's no truth in it. But there's paper. There's legal formality. That speaks louder than words these days. Behind him, Amanda was talking to one of the deacons, laughing, pointing. I couldn't hear the words, but the body language was poison. She noticed me watching and blew a kiss. I clenched my jaw. I'll pray for clarity, Dale said. I'd rather have justice. He didn't reply. On my way out, someone had placed a small envelope under my windshield wiper. No name. Just typed, "You're not who you used to be. Let it go." Inside, the brass key, but rusted, bent, scratched down the center. A message. You have no power here anymore. That afternoon, I walked into the local legal aid office. A young man named Rob greeted me. I explained everything. Showed him documents, dates, signatures, hospital records. He leaned back. Mr. Pierce, I'll be honest. This will be an uphill fight. I've climbed harder hills. You're not on the deed. Your accounts have been moved. You've been labeled mentally declining. I have proof that's false, and you need more than proof. You need someone who believes it. His eyes flicked toward the door. I turned. Michael stood there. He'd followed me. Mr. Pierce, Michael said to Rob, I'd like to request no further contact between my father and your firm. He's under medical supervision. His mental state is in question. Rob looked at me. I'm fine, I said firmly. Michael smiled. That's what makes it worse. He handed Rob a copy of the POA. This is on file now. And just like that, he left. I turned to Rob. You can't believe that, he sighed. I want to help. But if he's got medical documentation and notarized paperwork, it's fake. Then you'll need to prove it in court. Outside the office, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Alan Pierce? A deep voice said, "Yes? This is Officer Renner. We've received a wellness report filed by your family. We'd like to stop by and ask a few questions." "For what?" "There's concern about your behavior, and whether you're safe living alone. I'm not the one who should be under watch. We'll be there by 6 p.m. As I hung up, I saw Michael watching from across the parking lot, hands in pockets, brass key dangling from his fingers like a leash. The key turned in the lock like it remembered me. So did the silence inside that storage unit. I hadn't touched the old storage unit in 3 years, but I'd kept the spare brass key tucked in my wallet behind a faded photo of my wife, just in case. They hadn't thought to ask about it. And as I slid that key into the rusted lock, a click whispered something I hadn't heard in weeks. Control inside. It smelled of dust, old paint, and faint cedar from a chest I'd built myself. Boxes lined the walls, some marked, others untouched, since my wife's funeral. But I wasn't there for nostalgia. I was there for the original documents. I knew Amanda had tried to destroy the deed copies, but this unit held the real ones, untouched, laminated, sealed. In a folder behind a false wall in the wooden tool chest, I lifted the lid. There it was. Original will, real deed, bank statements, family trust paperwork from 10 years ago. All signed. All authentic. I exhaled for the first time in days. I laid it all out on the hood of the car, took photos, and emailed them to a lawyer I once helped when she was just starting out, Maya Russell. She owed me, and I was calling in my favor. Back home, I made sure not to say a word. Michael was in the living room watching some crime drama. Amanda scrolled her phone at the table. I walked past them with a calm they didn't deserve. They didn't notice the envelope I slid into the mailbox. It was addressed to Maya. Inside, the real deed, the unaltered POA form I had signed years ago, and a notarized letter stating I had never revoked my rights willingly. 2 hours later, Maya replied, "Got everything. This is strong. Sit tight. I'll make some calls." Quietly. That night, as they watched TV, Amanda asked casually, "Did you ever find that little key?" I smiled faintly. "Which one?" "The brass one. You seemed upset it was missing." I sipped my tea. Turns out, some locks remember the right hands. She didn't get it. Not yet. Logan came in, sat beside me. He looked different lately, more alert. Quieter, too. He didn't ask many questions anymore, but his eyes always landed on me first. "Grandpa," he whispered, "are you sad?" "No," I said. "I'm thinking." "About what?" "About how people think they can take things that were never theirs." He tilted his head. "Like your cabin?" My throat caught. "Did your dad say something?" He nodded. "He said it's his now. Because you forgot too much." "I didn't forget," I said gently. "They just thought I wouldn't remember." He slipped something into my hand, the broken brass key. "I found it in the trash," he whispered. "But I fixed it with tape." That tape was already peeling, but my grip around it tightened. Later that night, I received a confirmation email from the bank. One of my dormant personal accounts, untouched by Michael, was reactivated. Funds were frozen pending verification. I initiated a stop transfer order. It was my first move. Small. Silent. But it severed one of their hands from the money faucet. The next morning, Amanda stormed into the kitchen, red-faced and breathless. "Why is the joint account locked?" she screamed. "What did you do?" Amanda slammed the bank notice on the table. "We warned you, old man. Now we're done being polite." She didn't even wait for me to finish my coffee. The envelope landed between my toast and my dignity. "What's this?" I asked. "Your warning," Amanda hissed. "You froze the joint account. That's theft. It's my money." "Not anymore." Michael entered from the hallway, eyes red like he hadn't slept. "You want to play games?" he said. "Fine, but don't cry when we play harder." I stood slowly. "I didn't cry when you spit in my face. I won't start now." His jaw clenched. "You think you're clever? Think that lawyer friend of yours scares me?" "She doesn't have to," I said. "The truth does," Amanda laughed. "You don't know the truth. You don't even know what day it is most mornings." "I know today," I said. "It's the day you stopped pretending you had morals." The house phone rang. Amanda grabbed it, turned her back. Yes, Officer Renner. He's here. We'd feel safer if someone could assess his condition in person." I stepped forward. "You called the police?" She smiled as she handed Michael the phone. "Wellness check. You've been unstable. It's for your safety. Michael whispered into the receiver, then turned to me. Better get dressed, Dad. You're about to make a first impression. Within an hour, a police cruiser parked outside. A tall officer, stern but polite, stepped into the foyer. Mr. Pierce? That's me. I've been asked to conduct a voluntary wellness check due to concerns about your mental state and financial confusion. I'm not confused, I said. May I ask you a few questions? He pulled out a notepad. Amanda and Michael hovered behind him like buzzards. What year is it? 2025. Who is the president? Still disappointing. He smiled faintly. Fair enough. Do you manage your own money? Not recently. Because it was stolen from me. Amanda stepped in. Officer, if I may, he's been accusing us of theft, hiding papers, even threatening to sue us. You forged documents, I snapped. Michael interrupted. See what I mean? I turned to the officer. I have evidence. Do you have it with you? It's with my lawyer. Michael smirked. How convenient. That's when Logan entered the room, still in his pajamas, holding a drawing. He walked straight to the officer and said, My grandpa's not crazy. He remembers everything. Amanda tried to grab the paper. Logan, but it was too late. The officer took the paper and smiled politely. It was a sketch of me, holding Logan's hand in front of the cabin, a brass key drawn in detail labeled Grandpa's key. Nice art, the officer said. Logan whispered. He told me never to forget who gave it to us. Amanda snatched the paper, crumpling it. He doesn't understand what's going on. He's a child. The officer nodded slowly, then looked at me. I'll file the report as non-critical, he said, but keep your documentation ready. These matters tend to grow roots. He left. Amanda slammed the door behind him. You just embarrassed us in front of law enforcement, she spat. You want to play hardball? Michael stepped forward. Fine, let's make it legal. He dropped a thick manila envelope on the table, inside a petition for guardianship and medical declaration of incapacity. They were trying to have me declared legally incompetent. You sign, Michael said. Or we submit this with doctor testimony. You remember Dr. Carlson, right? He's already on board. I'm not signing anything, Amanda grinned. Then next time the police come, they'll bring a bed with them. I didn't flinch. I picked up the brass key from the edge of the table. It had been bent further. On purpose, you keep breaking this key, I said. But you'll never change what it opened. Amanda pulled out her phone. Tomorrow we go to court. And you, she said, pointing the bent key at my chest, you better pray the judge likes fairy tales. Aren't you the guy who got kicked out by his own son? The diner waitress asked, refilling my coffee without meeting my eyes. The booth by the window used to be mine. Every Thursday. Same order, same waitress, same jokes about the town paper crossword being too easy. But that morning, I barely recognized the tone in her voice. Aren't you the guy who got kicked out by his own son? She said it softly, like she didn't mean to. Like it slipped, still stung like a slap. I'm still his father, I said, keeping my tone steady. She nodded but looked away. That's not what folks are saying, and there it was. The third execution, this time social. My reputation now ran its own race through the town. Behind the counter, two old men were whispering. I caught one phrase, heard he's gone senile. Signed his house away. Sad stuff. My fingers curled around the ceramic mug. I didn't sip. I didn't correct them. I just listened. They weren't evil. Just entertained. That's what family betrayal turns into once it hits the streets, a rumor with legs. Suddenly, someone slid into the booth across from me. It was Joyce. She didn't smile. You need to see something, she said. From her purse, she pulled out her phone and opened a voice memo. He won't even know what hit him. Once we file, he's done. One doctor, one judge, one signature. We'll call it compassion. Michael's voice, clear, unfiltered. I stared at her. Where did you get this? Your grandson left my grandson a toy with your old recorder still inside. They played it by accident. I felt like I'd been struck and revived at the same time. You're sure it was recent? Time-stamped. 4 nights ago. Michael's own arrogance left a digital footprint, a full recording of his plan to manipulate legal guardianship. I emailed it to myself, Joyce said, and I sent it to someone else too. Who? Your lawyer friend, Maya. My heart pounded. The real estate office door opened across the street. A woman in a gray coat stepped out holding a folder. Maya. She crossed the road like she'd been waiting. "I need you to sign something," she said, sliding into the booth. "What is it?" "Motion to freeze all further transfers under your name until the guardianship petition is reviewed." "But I'm not the guardian." "Exactly. You're the petitioner now." She opened the folder. "I also contacted Tom's old firm," she said. "Turns out they fired him because of a different complaint, but this connects. The state bar is reopening that case." Joyce grinned. "That's not all." "One of the bank tellers?" "Her niece is my hairdresser." "Guess who's been bragging about Dad's money coming in early?" "Amanda," I said. Maya nodded. "We're building momentum. But I need one more thing." "What?" "The original deed." "Not the copy?" "The one you hid." "It's safe," I said. "I'll bring it." "Good," she said, standing. "We file in 48 hours. As I stood, Logan's school bus drove by. He saw me, pressed his hand against the window. The motion was simple, innocent, but something glittered in his other hand. The brass key. Taped. Repaired. Cracked. But still his. I didn't wave. I saluted. That night, Maya called me with only 4 words. "We're ready to strike. Tell me honestly, if your own family turned against you, would you fight back or walk away? Drop your answer below. Someone out there needs to read it." The courthouse lobby was too clean, too calm for a family war about to break open. There's a strange silence in a courthouse, like everyone's holding their breath, waiting to see who walks out still breathing. I wasn't nervous. Not today. Today I carried something heavier than nerves. Truth. Maya walked beside me, her heels sharp on the marble floor. The folder in her arms wasn't just paper. It was everything they tried to burn. Across the lobby, Michael looked like a politician on campaign. Slick blazer, cocky smirk, his hand casually resting on Amanda's lower back like a man who owned the room. But the tremor in his left foot gave him away. Amanda wore courtroom pearls. Her concerned daughter-in-law face was flawless. But even pearls can choke you when truth wraps around your throat. They didn't speak as I passed. They didn't need to. This courtroom wasn't about justice. Not to them. It was about winning what they thought they'd already stolen. But today I had a lock they couldn't pick. We sat. The clerk called our names. The judge, gray-bunned glasses and a gavel that looked like it had broken better men, looked up. Petitioner. Alan Pierce. "Present?" "Here, Your Honor," I said. Respondent Michael Pierce. "Present," my son answered, voice smooth as syrup. The judge nodded. "Let's begin." Michael's lawyer opened first. He walked the room like he was on stage. "Mr. Pierce," he said, nodding to me like I was already defeated, "is experiencing signs of cognitive decline. The respondents, Michael and his wife Amanda, acted out of necessity, not greed." He submitted the forged power of attorney, highlighted the signatures, quoted the fake doctor note. His memory is unreliable, his judgment impaired. "And his finances?" "Well, Your Honor, the paperwork speaks for itself." I didn't say a word, because my silence was about to thunder. Maya stood. "Your Honor," she said, "we move to strike the respondent's documents on the basis of fraud, coercion, and abuse of legal instruments. We have proof, starting with this." She placed a small USB drive on the judge's bench. On this device is a recording of Michael Pierce discussing his intent to manipulate this very courtroom using forged authority and misrepresented medical concerns. Michael stood halfway up. "That's illegal recording. Sit down." "Mr. Pierce," the judge snapped. Maya continued. "We also present the original deed to Mr. Pierce's family property, retrieved from a secure storage unit, dated, notarized, and intact, as well as a signed revocation of the POA dated prior to their alleged transfer of care." The judge adjusted her glasses. "And this?" Maya added, holding up something small and heavy. The brass key now shined and restored. This key opened the original cabin. It was a symbol of legacy passed from father to son. Mr. Pierce found it discarded, bent, and broken. She placed it beside the flash drive. Much like his dignity. The courtroom fell into silence. The judge turned to me. "Would you like to make a statement, Mr. Pierce?" I stood slowly. I didn't forget my name. I didn't forget my house. And I didn't forget the moment I saw my son spit on me at his dinner table. I locked eyes with Michael. They called it compassion. It was control. They said I was confused, but they were just hoping I'd stay silent long enough for the ink to dry. I turned to the judge. I'm not confused anymore. Michael looked like he wanted to speak, but no sound came out. Amanda's hand slid away from his arm. The judge tapped her gavel once. I am placing an immediate freeze on all financial accounts and property claims involving Mr. Pierce. Any further attempt to transfer, withdraw, or dissolve his assets will be considered contempt. Michael shouted, "You can't do this, he's lying." The judge stared over her glasses. "Do you really want to finish that sentence?" He sat down like gravity finally caught up with him. The courtroom adjourned, and Maya turned to me. "You held," she said. I looked down at the brass key. I never let go. As we stepped into the sunlight, Maya leaned in and said, "We just hit pause. Next, we press play on everything they're afraid of." Amanda stood on the porch in her robe, mail clutched like a knife. A red stamped envelope from the IRS stuck out like a warning flare. There's a silence that only comes when panic sets in, but pride won't let you scream. That morning, Amanda stood motionless by the mailbox. Her robe was half-tied, hair undone, nothing like the curated version of herself she posted online. In her hands was a thick envelope, red-stamped. From where I stood on the sidewalk, I could read it in full. Final notice. Federal audit pending. She didn't even look at me. Just turned around and slammed the front door like the truth could be kept out that way. It couldn't. Later, I overheard Michael on the phone in the backyard. His voice was tight, clenched between rage and panic. "What do you mean it's frozen?" "No, those funds were pre-approved. My father's dead weight. He doesn't even know what day it is." I stepped into view. "I know exactly what day it is," I said. "It's the day your house of cards starts to fall." He froze, then hung up. "Stay out of this. You dragged me into it the moment you lied to a judge." He looked around like someone might be watching. They were. Joyce's blinds twitched across the street. A jogger slowed at the edge of the sidewalk. People always claim they don't eavesdrop, but in this town, every raised voice is public record. By noon, another envelope came. This one from the State Licensing Bureau. Amanda's beauty products, her so-called side hustle, were under investigation. Turns out, importing unapproved ingredients from overseas doesn't sit well with health regulators. Their online store went dark within hours. Negative reviews flooded the forums. People stopped buying. Her Instagram turned quiet. The comments weren't kind. She stole from her own father-in-law. Should have been a warning when she posted that video bragging about cleaning up the old man's finances. She always seemed fake. Then came the creditors. Collection calls. Mail pile-ups, Michael yelling at automated systems. The best part? They couldn't even move the house. I had filed a legal stay with Maya that froze any sale, refinance, or lien activity tied to the property. I stood in the driveway that evening, watering the edge of the lawn like I used to when it was my yard. Amanda stormed out with a phone in hand. "You smug piece of—" "Careful," I said calmly. "You're being watched." "What, you think people are on your side now?" "They're not on yours." She turned back toward the house. "You ruined us." "No," I said. "I showed them what you built that night." Logan knocked on my door. He didn't say anything at first, just held out his hand. Inside it was the brass key. It looked different, clean, shined, the metal warm from his grip. "Dad left it on the counter," he said. "Said it didn't open anything anymore." "Not true," I said, closing his fingers around it. "It opens truth. And that always finds its way back." He leaned in. "Can I come live with you now?" My throat clenched. "You want that?" He nodded. "I don't like how they talk about you, and they don't talk to me anymore." I bent down. "You'll always have a place with me, but we'll do it right. Through the court. No secrets. No stealing." He hugged me, tighter than ever before. Later that night, Maya called. "It's time," she said. "Tomorrow we take it all back in front of everyone." When I walked into the church that morning, nobody laughed. Nobody smiled. They just moved aside and made room, like they knew something holy was about to happen. For the first time in weeks, I wore my best shirt, not for vanity. For closure. The church foyer buzzed with murmurs. Not the usual greetings or weather talk. It was a different kind of whisper, one laced with guilt, curiosity, and quiet apologies no one had the courage to speak. Aloud, I walked in slow, Not because I was weak, because I wanted them to see I wasn't in a rush to reclaim what had always been mine. The pastor caught sight of me from the altar and froze mid-sentence. Even his sermon notes shook in his hand. I walked to the third row and took my seat. This time nobody blocked me. Nobody looked away. Joyce sat beside me and whispered. They all read the article. The local paper had run the story that morning. Elder abuse suit exposes forged documents, family trust scandal. Front page. Full names, Michael, Amanda, their photos, their lies. The community that once looked through me now looked at me with eyes wide, full of something heavier than pity. Regret. Pastor Dale cleared his throat and said, "Before we begin today's message, we have a testimony." Gasps scattered across the pews. He turned toward me. "Alan, if you'd like." I stood, my knees didn't buckle, my voice didn't shake. "I came here for years," I said. "I gave tithe, time, and trust. And when I was thrown out of my own home, spat on, locked away, and called crazy, none of you asked why. I let the silence sit. But now that the papers told you, now that the truth is printed, you believe." I reached into my pocket and held up the brass key. This used to open the cabin I built with my bare hands. I gave it to my son, thinking it would remind him where he came from. He returned it broken, then tried to break me with it. More silence. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm asking for remembrance. Don't let this happen to the next father, the next mother, the next old man too proud to say he's being robbed by the people he raised. I placed the key on the altar and walked away. No applause, just one voice in the back. "I'm sorry, Alan," then another. "We didn't know." By the time I reached the parking lot, people were lined up just to shake my hand. Even Pastor Dale stepped out. He pulled something from his pocket. It was the brass key. "I couldn't leave it on the altar," he said. "It belongs with you," I nodded. "Not forever. Someday it'll go to someone who earns it." That night Maya called. "Court granted full injunction. We can now file for property return and damages. The trust is yours again." "Good," I said. "But I want one more thing." "What?" "A public apology." She paused. "I think we can make that happen." She emailed me the court date. Bolded in red, "Property hearing Thursday. Amanda and Michael required to appear." When Michael walked into court, he was still smirking. He didn't know the last lock had already turned, and it wasn't in his favor. The courtroom felt colder this time, not from the air, but from the tension that clung to every corner like dust that wouldn't settle. Michael arrived in a wrinkled suit, Amanda beside him with sunglasses on indoors. It wasn't to block the light. It was to shield herself from the glares. The gallery was full. Neighbors, former clients, even the banker who once called me confused. They came to see if the story was true. They came to see justice in motion. Maya stood at my side, calm and focused. She had rehearsed every beat, but I didn't need rehearsal today. I came with truth, and the brass key in my breast pocket, whole, clean, and about to lock one door permanently. The judge entered. The same one who had granted me protection weeks ago. She didn't bother with small talk. "Mr. Pierce," she said to Michael, "you've been accused of elder financial abuse, fraud, document forgery, and misappropriation of assets belonging to Alan Pierce. Do you wish to speak?" Michael stood. "Your Honor, everything I did was to protect my father. He was confused, reckless with money. He almost lost our house." "Our?" the judge asked. Amanda whispered something and Michael flinched. "We meant his. It's just, he said it would go to us anyway." Maya stepped forward. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit the following. Video evidence of Michael Pierce discussing his plan to exploit legal guardianship for financial gain. Forensic analysis showing tampering with POA documents. And statements from Mr. Pierce's physician stating full cognitive capability." She walked to the bench. "And one more. Exhibit." She held up the brass key. This key was a symbol of trust given by Alan to his son when he believed their bond couldn't be broken. They returned it damaged. He restored it. And now it holds something more. She handed the judge a small envelope. Inside, a notarized letter from Alan stating he'd amended his will. Michael and Amanda were removed entirely, replaced by Logan's name and a clause donating the cabin to a veterans rehab center upon his adulthood, if he proved he understood legacy over inheritance. Michael shouted, "You can't do that." The judge banged the gavel. He can. And he did. Amanda stood too. You're destroying your own bloodline. I rose for the first time. You bled me dry before I ever fought back. This isn't revenge, it's restoration. Maya handed Michael one last paper. A lien notice, filed by a former client he defrauded using my name as collateral. You'll be seeing each other in civil court soon, she added. The judge finalized the ruling. All assets returned. Legal guardianship dismissed. Restraining order against any financial contact approved. Public notice authorized to clear Alan Pierce's name. We walked out into the afternoon sun, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I was escaping anything. I was returning. As we crossed the courthouse steps, Logan waited by the fountain. He held out his hand. I placed the brass key in it. Not yet, I said. But one day, he nodded. Amanda sat alone on the bench outside, head in her hands. Michael stood beside a payphone, arguing with someone who wouldn't pick up. As I drove away, Maya said, "They'll come crawling next." I didn't reply. I already knew what my answer would be. I opened the door and there he stood. Michael. No lawyer, no Amanda. No pride. He didn't knock twice. Just once. Soft. Like he wasn't sure he had the right to. I opened the door to see a version of my son I hadn't met in years. Sober, pale, small. His shoulders sagged under the weight of something heavier than shame. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside, saying nothing. He walked in slowly. Looked around like the house might bite him, or maybe like it remembered what he tried to take. He sat at the edge of the couch, hands clutched tight. "I've lost everything." I nodded. "I know. People won't even speak to me. My boss cut me off. The accounts. It's all gone. That's what happens when you build on someone else's foundation." His throat worked as he swallowed something bitter. "Amanda's gone. Took Logan's things. Moved in with her sister." I raised my eyebrows. "She didn't take Logan?" He shook his head. He refused. Said he wants to stay with you. That hit deeper than I wanted to show. Michael looked at me, eyes bloodshot. I messed up. That's an understatement. I know I don't deserve anything, but I didn't come to ask for money or the house. I came to ask if there's still a place for me, somewhere in your life. I stared at him. This was the same man who had spat in my face, the same man who orchestrated forged signatures, court lies, and financial theft. Now, he looked like a boy who missed his father. "Do you remember," I said, "when I stood in this room and you told me I was nothing more than a tenant?" He nodded, eyes down. "I asked you once, who taught you to treat people like this? And you said you did. Do you still believe that?" "No," he whispered. "I was just scared. I thought, if I didn't control everything, I'd lose it." "You were right," I said. "But you lost something more valuable." He looked up. "What?" "My trust." I walked into the hallway and came back with something in my palm. The brass key, clean, cold, still mine. "I gave this to you once. It meant something." He nodded. "I'm not giving it back," I said. "Not now. Maybe not ever." His lip trembled. "Then what do I do?" "You rebuild." "How?" "You start by apologizing to Logan, then to the people you lied to. Then you find honest work. You prove over time that you're worth knowing again. I can't do it alone. You won't have to. But I won't hold your hand." Tears welled in his eyes. "I miss her. I miss our family. I miss being your son." I looked at him long and hard. "You stopped being my son the moment you treated me like a stranger in my own house. And you'll only become one again when your actions prove your apology wasn't just survival instinct." He stood slowly, head lowered. "Do I come back tomorrow?" "No," I said. "You wait until I invite you." As he walked out, Logan appeared from the hallway holding the family photo Michael once burned and said, "Is he gone for good?" The community center's sign had changed. My name was on it, and this time it wasn't a mistake. It happened quietly. No parade, no fireworks, just a new plaque on the brick wall outside the old town center. They called it a dedication, but it felt like something deeper, a restoration. Alan Pierce Community Hall. Below it, a small brass plate with the words, "For the man who gave everything and fought to get it back." I didn't ask for it. Joyce and Pastor Dale arranged it with the mayor. They said it was time. Inside, Logan stood by the bulletin board, staring at a photograph of the cabin, rebuilt, re-permitted, funded by the restitution I'd won. He turned to me holding the brass key, now mounted on a soft wooden base. "I don't think I'll ever deserve this," he said. I knelt beside him. "You won't earn it by being perfect," I said. "You'll earn it by remembering what it cost." He nodded slowly, then walked away to join the other kids stacking chairs. Across the room, Michael sat alone, not excluded, not embraced either. In between, Amanda hadn't shown up. She sent an email apology. Maya said she was filing for bankruptcy and likely moving to Florida. Michael had started working again, an entry-level clerk job at the same bank where he once misused my signature. Now he files the papers. He doesn't sign them. He looked at me from across the room, uncertain, still ashamed. I nodded. Nothing more. Because dignity isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the quiet refusal to hate. The pastor approached with a final gift, one I didn't expect. A shadow box. Inside, 3 things. Number 1, the old burned photo, restored and unwrinkled. Number 2, a printed headline from the court hearing, "Elder Father Reclaims Legacy in Stunning Legal Turn." Number 3, the original brass key taped up by Logan all those weeks ago, tape still holding. He handed it to me. I turned to the crowd gathered in that little hall and said just one thing. I never wanted revenge. I wanted truth. And for the people who made me invisible to see me again. They clapped, not loud, not forced, real. I stepped outside as the sun set, the name on the building glowing gold, and I thought back to that night when my son stood up at the dinner table and spat in my face. It felt like the end. But now, standing here, it felt like something finally beginning. I locked the new cabin door with the brass key, and this time when it clicked, it didn't sound like something closing. It sounded like something returning. This wasn't just a story, it was a truth too many of us carry. So tell me honestly, have you ever been erased by someone you raised? Comment below. Your story deserves to be seen too.